The Weekly Driver podcast gets support from AmericanMuscle.com, your late model Mustang and F-150 authority, bringing you the hottest products and top-notch customer service for over a decade. No one makes it easier to modify your ride. Visit AmericanMuscle.com today for your chance to win a 2018 Mustang RTR Spec 3. Welcome back to the Weekly Driver podcast. My name is James Rea. I am the editor and publisher of theweeklydriver.com, and I am an automotive columnist for Bay Area News Group. My co-host is Bruce Aldrich, and today we are in Sacramento, back from the LA Auto Show, where lots of manufacturers were talking about cars of the year, and it got me to thinking about my annual cars of the year list, which I always do at the end of the year. So this episode is going to be about 2017 cars of the year. Bruce has a lot of expertise, so good morning, Bruce, and what do you think about cars of the year?
Good morning, James. It's a good idea. I'm all fired up after LA. That was a fantastic show.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk about, you got a list, correct?
I have a list, and kind of for full disclosure, I guess is the best way to term it. I drove 38 2017 model cars. Some of them I drove in 2016. Some of them I drove in 2017. That's how the automotive world works. And so we're only going to pick 10 cars that I had a chance to drive out of the 38. It would be unfair to pick, a Maserati or another car that people have been talking about if I hadn't at least, driven it for half a day or something. So these are all cars that the Weekly Driver, of course, is based on the fact that I get a car each week to drive, and 38 full reviews this year, and we're going to go through the list. Bruce and I have already talked about one of the cars, so I'll let Bruce talk about it first. It's the wonderful world of Bentley, and it's the number one on the list. Not necessarily the best, but just number one on our list is the Bentley Bentayga.
Well, back up a minute.
Yep.
38 cars. You're not kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
That's crazy. I wish I had that many to do. Oh boy, I've driven maybe a quarter of those, something like that.
Probably, yeah.
The top of the list for us is the Bentley Bentayga, which is a very high-end. It's a fancy Audi Q7, slightly different sheet metal, but totally different everywhere else. It's a 600 horsepower machine, V12. Anyway, this thing goes like stink. It handles well, bar none. That's my favorite car of the year, if not of the whole universe.
Yeah, right. Well, we know some of the specs on the car, and they're so, as you would say, one of your favorite terms is off the hook. So if you're thinking about SUVs, sometimes you're thinking, well, the SUVs are made for comfort, they're for soccer moms, they're for different things, but this is really a supercar because it's the fastest SUV ever made, if I have that correct, at 187 miles per hour. I can't imagine an SUV going 187.
No, nor I. And 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds.
Yep.
This thing is the real deal. It's ridiculously priced. The one that we drove was over $300,000.
Right.
It's absurd, right? But if you have that money, you're actually getting, I don't know if quite what you paid for, but you are getting something well over a standard like the Audi Q7 that it's based on.
Oh, there's no doubt. I had the good fortune to take my wife to a Bentley dinner. Boy, we had first-class treatment, of course. It was very, very nice, but when we had somebody actually drive us in that car and drive us back, and, it has everything you can imagine. Over the top with the different kinds of wood. Everything is just first class. The champagne flutes in the back, of course. Full luxury. Everything is great, and you don't even know you're going along the road, and it's so quiet that it's hard to imagine being in an SUV that drives like a Bentley sedan, and just total comfort. Some of the other things, of course, it's 6-liter V12, and it just 4 seconds from 0 to 60. Who could imagine that an SUV would have that power?
Exactly. It does everything. It'll allow to accelerate most cars. Heck, the thing has four-wheel drive. You can go skiing in this car. This is a car that you can really use. There's other cars, obviously, that you can spend 300 grand on, your different Ferraris and such. And, you have to be careful backing out of the driveway so you don't clip the spoiler. This thing, you can drive it. It's just a regular car that does everything very, very well.
Yeah, I made one comment that it's like sitting in a luxury, high-end luxury sedan that wants to be an SUV or has a split personality to be an SUV as well. It's like sitting in a plush sedan, but you get all of the versatility of being in an SUV.
Right, and the fun, I guess, if you have money, is you get to pick the hides, the stitching color, everything.
Yeah.
So you do get something.
Right, and then also, we also had a chance to drive another Bentley earlier in the year, and one of the things we both commented on, and others have commented on, is that Bentley has this approach to vehicles that, while they're fine vehicles, they're not ostentatious. You're going down the road and you're driving behind a Bentley. Unless you see that Bentley logo and you know that it's a Bentley, for some other reason, you don't know it's a Bentley because they're very subtle from the rear, and which I think is a positive because you're not show offy, if you will. But if you're in the car, then you know what you have. But from the road, it doesn't really it doesn't speak dig me.
No, yeah, people don't. There's not a thumbs up and a toot of the horn when that thing goes by.
No.
Nobody. It's invisible. It's a stealth luxury car.
Fantastic. I like the way you said that.
Yeah, you go to the club. If you don't see the badge on it, people are just thinking you're just whatever. Oh, well, that's a nice car. I mean, it all looks like a nice car, but it doesn't look like 300 grand.
No, it doesn't at all. Which is, as we said, which is a positive. So moving on. Hyundai, for a long time, for most of its tenure, made the Genesis, and now the Genesis is now its own brand, much like other companies have introduced their high-end brands from the original brand. So Genesis is not on its own now. You still buy the Genesis at Hyundai dealerships, but soon they're going to have their own dealerships. So earlier this year, I drove the 2017 Genesis G90, which I thought, fantastic sedan. I'd put it on par with all of the well-known high-end sedans, Mercedes and so forth. I just thought it was a fantastic car. It's gotten rave reviews. It's priced at about $69,000 with most of the cars I test drive are the top of the line. They put a lot of the optional equipment on them. So the base price is $68,000. And one thing good about the Genesis and also about Hyundai is they include so much in their equipment that comes standard that Hyundai's prices aren't that much higher with all the good stuff on them. So that's another really good thing about Hyundai. I love the way this car accelerated. It's quiet, it's plush, it drives down the road, and people still to this day, I can't imagine, they say, I would never buy a Hyundai. No way, it's a South Korean car. And I'm thinking, until you drive one, you don't know what you're in.
It drives pretty well. I do recall this vehicle. It seems that I think the motor's a little noisier than the folks from Germany or Japan. It's just a little rough around the edges in some places. I don't know. You certainly don't in any panache, that's for sure.
No.
But it's a fine vehicle. If you don't care about the nameplate, it's a fine car, and I love the warranty.
Yeah, that's typical. The Hyundai and Kia have the 10-year, 100,000 mile. I think Mitsubishi has that now too. But I wrote from my final comments on the car, I said, it's hard to imagine a new luxury sedan infiltrating a market stocked with iconic, well-established customer favorites. But if any car can do it, it's the Genesis. The new spin-off from Hyundai works well at priced at $25,000 less than the leaders of the pack. Your point's well made, and one of the things you also have to consider is, if you're in the market for a Mercedes-Benz and you're looking at a used Mercedes, the resale value of these well-established cars is ahead of the Hyundai. Because
sure,
what about the resale? Well, that would be a downfall until it becomes as established, if it does, as German Audi or Mercedes-Benz and Jaguar, for example.
Sure, that's a factor.
Yeah. Okay, number 3 on the list is a car that I also obviously really liked. It's the first car I've been aware of that the gas model and the hybrid model are priced the same. And that's the Lincoln MKZ Hybrid, $41,000 price point. Lincoln, in the last couple of years, we've been to the LA car show together, LA Auto Show together, and we've seen that Lincoln has really tried to up its game and reintroduced the Lincoln as it was a prestige car years ago, kind of forgotten about, I would say, in the last 10 or 15 years.
They're trying to build themselves up like Cadillac did
trying
10 years ago.
Yeah, trying to build themselves up. So this is this MKZ hybrid, when it first came out, was available in the Bay Area at Ford Lincoln dealerships, and I just said I really liked it because the MKZ hybrid negotiates the standard 0 to 60 miles per hour test at 8.9 seconds, 1.6 seconds slower than the gas editions. Both trims offer quiet rides, although the hybrid has a distinct drone while gaining speed. I guess my overwhelming thing about this car is that the fuel range is 560 miles, and the combined freeway and city and driving estimate at 40 miles per gallon in a nice sedan is pretty impressive, and it costs the same as the gas model.
Yes, I'm still not real sold on these hybrids. There's just so much more complexity. They don't. What are they? 6% better gas mileage?
Yeah.
I'm not sure on those things yet. I think they're still in the hobbyist stage, or like you're trying to. It's a science project in my mind. I wouldn't deal with them, but it's the same price. And you're going to have it for 4 years. It's a lease, and hey,
Yeah.
why not?
That's a good point.
But to buy it and keep it for 10, if you're, well, who buys those things? The older folks, right? That's their last.
Bruce?
That's the last car. That'll be my last car, so
Yeah.
I don't care about the resale or what have you.
Well, those are good points, but as you well know, we're both past 60 now, so maybe time to start thinking about those, or we're going to play young?
I'm going to hold out and get the full electric or something.
All right, good. So number 4 is the Toyota Prius Prime, priced at $36,000. I drove this car during the Tour of California, which is the country's largest bike race. I drove it from Sacramento to the Los Angeles area and back. I thought it was fantastic. I drove an amazing amount of miles in 2 weeks, and when I was all said and done, my gas costs were just under $90. I mean, it's hard to imagine that you do so well. But I didn't use the all-electric part of the car, which is 25 miles per charge. And I just wrote that the top-line Prius Prime was a comfortable sedan with signature Prius features. The rear view was obstructed by the hatchback design. The short shift knob was unique and fun to use. The ride was quiet, except for some high-speed rear seat windrush. Not many hybrids can change a mainstream buyer's car habits. The Prius Prime should. I just thought in terms of hybrids, for years they've looked like space vehicles. Nobody can cut. What is that? Why does it look so ugly? What's that weird looking back? I just think that the Prius Prime is the best car that Prius has put out for the money and for the mileage and for the rebates that you get. So I was very impressed with this, driving the car, 12, 13, 1,400 miles in a couple of weeks.
It's well put together. It's number one on your list when you're going to buy a car is gas mileage. Then this is for you. I mean, it's good gas mileage. This is a plug-in electric, correct? So you have to be plugging it in, or you're not going to enjoy all those good mileage per gallon claims. To me, they're just boring. They don't handle well. They don't accelerate well. They don't stop well. They don't do what a car's supposed to do. If you're going to L.A. to Sacramento every day, or you're doing, who knows, 15,000 miles a year on your car,
right?
Gas mileage is a huge importance. Then get one. But otherwise, for most folks, they're just too boring, and it's just not worth it.
Okay, fair enough. By the way, the suggested retail price on this car is $33,100, and as I mentioned, I tested it at $36,000. If you look at the average price of a car in the U.S., sometimes I refer to this about $32,000. So I think, if people think, well, the hybrids cost a lot more, they're not, where does the battery come from? What's the life of the battery? People talk about that kind of stuff all the time. I think for the price point in the hybrid world, this is a pretty good value. Number 5 on the list is the Kia Niro. It's a subcompact hybrid utility vehicle that looks more like a handsome streamlined wagon. It's new to the lineup of Kia. It was introduced at the Chicago Auto Show in 2016, and it uses a 1.6 hybrid electric powertrain with 139 horsepower. I just thought it was, for the price point again, they're calling it the unhybrid because it drives like a non-hybrid. It has a comfort. I just thought for the price point again, under $30,000, for $3,000, let's say less than the average price of a new car, it also won me over as an up-and-coming hybrid.
I like the Nero. I guess any car under 30 grand just impresses me, how much
Yes.
you get these days.
Thank you.
They're so close. They have most of the options and all is the big boys that you're paying 50, 60,000 for, but you're getting them for under 30. Now, obviously, it's a lighter car.
Yes.
It's a little noisier. Blah. Everything is not as good as you pay twice as much for.
Right.
But for 30 grand, it's an amazing car.
I almost forgot, it had one impressive feature that when you buy a hybrid, also often you have a compromised trunk space because they have these big batteries and so forth, and you look in the trunk and you can't put anything in the trunk. This one, they put the batteries under the rear seat, so there's no restrictions, there's no compromised cargo space. So they did that efficiently.
Yeah, they designed the car around the powertrain.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Number 6 is Mazda 3. Everybody knows that Mazda stopped making their rotary engines several years ago, and now they have a regular engine, and the Mazdas have vastly improved. The Mazda 3 is $27,700 as I tested it, and let's see, it has a compact, sort of very infrequently defined as zippy, but for the little car that it is, the Mazda 3 does zippy pretty well. It's responsive and it's authoritative, and you can turn and maneuver the car through traffic. It makes it a fun car to drive, and it also has a manual transmission, which you and I are in the same mindset. I think we still like to drive a car on occasion and shift through the gears, so that's a good thing. So I think you drove the Mazda 3.
Yeah, I recall I drove this car,
Yeah.
and like you say, it had the 6-speed, which, I guess it makes, it's almost like having a convertible version of whatever car it is. It just feels fun. Well, you put the 6-speed in that Mazda 3, and it feels zippy and fun, and it's great. But I think with an automatic, it's a nice car. It's quiet. It's another car, like I say, it's under 30 grand. I'm impressed with it.
Yeah, has 184 horsepower, gas mileage 25 in the city, 33 on the highway, and I think I see a lot of them on the road, so I know that they've become quite popular. And I think that the shifting it's a short shift and it's smooth, and so I really add it all up, and I think you have a fun car to drive that's economical and the price points.
It's fun. It's unlike a Prius where you think you're just driving an appliance like maybe a dishwasher or a toaster oven. This is fun. This has some feeling in it.
Yes. Okay, number 7 on the list is Volkswagen Passat, $25,495 as tested. I'm a Volkswagen guy. I know that you're a Volkswagen guy. I just think that despite all of Volkswagen's troubles in the last few years, I've always been impressed with them. And I wrote about this car that while it's not a luxury vehicle, it's influenced by some of the higher-priced German counterparts. The cabin materials, include as well-matched dark plastic trim, are straightforward and handsome. The navigation system is adequate, but several competitors have larger and higher resolution screens. The Passat offers a quiet, comfortable ride.
Yes, I think you're right. I do like the interiors on German cars. It's just very tidy. It's like the maid just came through and cleaned up your room. There's no silly materials involved or funny angles. It's neat and clean, like a well manicured office or something.
That's very well said, Bruce. I like the fact that you said like a maid. I should have used that analogy in my review. Can I steal that?
The maid? Oh, yes.
Okay, all right. So I wrote also that the Volkswagen exterior designs also define efficiency and simplicity, much like you said. The lack of sharp edges or odd swooping roofline or other attention-grabbing styles makes the Passat even more attractive. It's like a blue blazer, simultaneously casual, stylish, and versatile.
Yeah, and no more diesel motors, right?
No more diesel motors. They're still figuring out how much everybody's going to get.
Oh, that's going to cost them.
It's a mess. Okay, number 8, a Honda CR-V. If I remember correctly, about $34,000, $35,000, somewhere in that price point. CR-Vs, I don't know if there's a better, modestly priced, versatile SUV that you get. If you put a 2-year-old Honda CR-V on the market for sale, it's going to be gone in half a day, right? So in terms of its popularity, resale value, I think it's probably one of the most versatile cars on the market.
It's just like the Honda Accord for sedans. That thing is to the SUV market.
Yes.
Good looking now. Finally, they've had a lot of ugly ones through the years.
Yeah.
But it looks good now.
Yeah, it's a fifth generation for 2017. The car's now 23 years old. I didn't think that they made CRVs for 23 years. I guess, thinking about it now, they have been around for a while. It's slightly longer and wider and taller than the previous models. It looks substantially larger because of its new stocky appearance, embellished by a less than attractive protruding tail lights. That's kind of a funky look. I didn't really
Yeah,
like
I
it.
don't know what they're doing there. It kind of reminds me of a Toyota Highlander.
Yes, yes. The ground clearance is a little bit more, so they're trying to make it maybe a little bit more versatile approach for maybe, I don't know if you can really take that car off-road, but maybe a little, I don't know, maybe not.
Not so much.
That's not so much. So Honda CRV, hard to go wrong. You go in, you negotiate your best price, and you get a car that's going to last you 10 years. It could be a family car, it could be a one-person car, it could be a soccer mom's car. You could put your dog in the car.
Two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's got a lot to offer.
Right.
Okay, number 9 and number 10. Not too many years I've done two of the same brands, but I've been a Volvo fan forever. I think that, I would love to go to Sweden to go to their, fly and buy program where you go over there on a vacation. They give you 2 tickets. They put you up in a hotel. You go to the tour of the factory. You buy a car for less than it costs you here. You don't have any destination charges. Someday in a fantasy world, I'm going to go to Sweden and buy a Volvo. So the S90 is, it's a plush top line sedan that it's not going to sell as many as BMW or Mercedes-Benz or Audi, but I just love this car. It's the new flagship of the brand. It replaces the S90. It's sleek, and its features just are great, and it takes Volvo past the fact that people often still think about Volvos as just sturdy but kind of ugly looking with not much class or panache, the word you use. So did you drive that Volvo? Do you remember driving it?
Yes, I did. I like it. It reminds me of the old ones.
Yes.
Like when they used to build the old boxy ones. It feels heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It feels, quiet. You feel like you're driving a tank, and these kind of have that same feel to them. But now, guess what? They got some styling to them.
Right. And it has 2 models, the T5 and the T6. I drove the T6. It has 316 horsepower, turbocharger, and a supercharger. It has an 8-speed automatic transmission, front-wheel drive, and the T6, as I drove, has all-wheel drive. So you get a lot of options. It has a lot of neat things like 19-inch wheels, adaptive LED headlights, headlight washers, Napa leather upholstery seats, which is a high-end seat, heating and cooling seats, leather wrapped dash panel, walnut trim accents, 4-zone climate control. It has a lot to offer.
Yeah, they're really trying to push the envelope on the safety features. They're like trying to stay a jump ahead of like Mercedes as far as their adaptive cruise control, and they have as I understand it, an adaptive driving mode now, kind of
Yes.
like the Tesla. So they're trying to stay ahead in the electronics packages as well.
Yes, I do remember that. I like the adaptive driver mode, which transitions well into the last car on the list, which is the most recent car. I haven't fully reviewed it yet, but it's also a Volvo, and it was the V90 cross-country all-wheel drive, as you would call it. I love the term estate wagon.
For Mercedes, yes.
For Mercedes, that's right. So this car, as I drove it, was $64,640. I drove it from Sacramento to the LA Auto Show and back. And this car does nothing wrong. It does everything right. It just has a very solid, comfortable feel. The seats are fantastic. The comfort in the car was, as I get older, if I'm driving a car long distance, you can feel some, I get knee pain or your lower back hurts or you just feel getting a little bit cramped up in the car. This car, I felt always at ease. The cruise control is, you just push a little button. And there's no like, oh, did I do it right? Did I do it wrong? It's just very intuitive, little tiny button. And I was going 77 for a couple hours at a time sometimes. Sometimes I wasn't on cruise control, and all of a sudden I would look down and I was going 85, and I had no idea. It's just so smooth and so quiet. And as a wagon, I was traveling by myself, but it's got a lot of space, a lot of pass-through areas. You can configure the rear seats, and it has that typical Scandinavian solid. You felt completely safe. You have to drive over the Grapevine to and from, and there was never any doubts that, when an 18-wheeler goes by, you're going to be, pushed all over the road.
I really like the looks of it too. It's
Yes.
it's hard to. It's almost embarrassing to admit I like to look at it. Being an estate wagon or a station wagon. That's what
Station wagon. You can't say station wagon.
Yeah, I can't even say the word. I'm so afraid of it. Station wagon. But I actually like looking at it. Just sitting there, walking around it, looking at the lines of the cars.
Yes.
Really, really easy on the eyes. And when you open the door and get in there, it's got sort of that German tidiness.
Yes.
But with maybe a little frosting on it, so it looks a little fancier than a German, but not silly like a lot of the Japanese cars have now.
Those sleek, very, as you used the word stealth earlier, it has those wonderful stealth headlights that are kind of long
Yes.
and angular. Oh man, they're beautiful to look at, and the whole, as you said, the whole exterior of the car just it looks top dog, and it's a wagon.
It's smooth, it's quiet, it feels like a heavy car very substantial.
And it's rated 22 miles per gallon in the city, 30 miles per gallon on the highway. Most of the miles that I drove were on the freeway. You get to LA, you've got to go on some city streets and so forth. And considering if I know this correctly, if I have this right, when they do those miles per gallon, the highway miles, they're going at the speed limit. But I was going substantially faster than that speed limit. Sometimes 80. Again, cars flying by. But I got 28.9 miles to the gallon on that trip, which, considering the air conditioner was on sometimes, the heat was on, and I was going faster than the speed limit, I thought, well, good for Volvo. They got this pretty close to accurate on the miles per gallon, considering I was exceeding the speed limit and I had the other functions of the car on much of the time.
Small motors with turbochargers.
Yep.
Better gas mileage, yep.
That's it. So.
Oh, and this one had a head-up display too, which I really enjoy.
Oh,
I wish
display, yes.
every car had those things.
Yeah, and also it had even little touches. I think I told you this in an email or on the phone one day, that it has the side lane detection, but instead of just having this obnoxious beep of a light, it had this nice curvature on the light to let you know. You could see the alert that somebody was there, but you didn't get bolted out of your seat like you're about to get in a crash.
It didn't admonish you, it just
yeah,
advised you.
Thank you. So I'm just going to scroll down the list, go through this real quickly. Bentley Bentayga, number 1. Number 2, Hyundai Genesis. Number 3, Lincoln MKZ Hybrid. Number 4, Toyota Prius Prime Hybrid. Number 5, Kia Niro. Number 6 is the Mazda 3. Number 7, Volkswagen Passat. Number 8, Honda CR-V. Number 9, Volvo S90 sedan. And number 10, Volvo V90 cross-country estate wagon.
So if I was going cheap, I'd buy the Mazda 3.
Yes.
If I was in the middle and I want utility, I'd get the Volvo V90.
Yes.
And if cost no object, there's hands down that Bentayga would win.
Fantastic car. Yep, I agree. So thanks as always for joining us on the Weekly Driver podcast. Make sure to visit my website, theweeklydriver.com, and we'll be back at you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Goodbye.
The Weekly Driver podcast receives support from AmericanTrucks.com, your late model Silverado, Sierra, Ram, and F-150 online aftermarket retailer, bringing you all of the hottest parts from accessories to lift kits, from wheels to tires and winches. AmericanTrucks.com has the knowledge and know-how to make your wildest dreams come to reality. Visit AmericanTrucks.com for your chance to win $17,760 in upgrades for your truck.